morning, everyone. Welcome to this Farming for a Climate-Friendly Future event. We have over 70 people joining us this morning, which is fantastic. My name is Harriet Irwin, and I'm the Development Officer for Shared Interest Foundation. So over the next 20 minutes or so, you will hear from our Foundation Manager, Kodjo Kokochi, who is joining us from Accra in Ghana. Kodjo will talk about our current projects across Africa and South America, and the specific activities we are implementing to increase the climate resilience of the farmers and artisans we work with. We are also delighted to be joined by Nicholas Apokera. Nicholas is the Executive Director of Trade Aid Integrated, an NGO based in Northern Ghana, which provides support to over 1,600 basket weavers. Nicholas will talk about the specific impact of climate change in his region, the work of Trade Aid, and the Soilless Farming project, which we are implementing together. At the end of the session, there will be the opportunity to answer any questions you might have. So please, throughout the presentations, you will see at the bottom of your screen a button called Q&A. That's where you can enter your questions for either Nicholas or Kodjo, and we will answer as many as we can at the end of the session. So thank you again for joining us, and I will now pass over to Kodjo.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this important conversation on climate change. The impact of climate change is being felt all over the world in the form of increasing temperatures, weather variability and unpredictability, shifting agro-ecosystem boundaries, the high incidence of pests and diseases, and extreme weather conditions. On the farms, climate change is reducing agricultural productivity and also the nutritional quality of many crop food. Basically, agriculture has become extremely vulnerable to climate change. So estimates show that climate change will reduce agricultural productivity by 17% by 2050. This shows how important climate change is. And there are research or estimates also show a positive correlation, significant correlation between climate change and poverty and food security. 35 countries have declared already a climate emergency, and research estimates that climate change will drive 68 to 132 million people into poverty. So climate change actually hits the poorest first and hardest. That is why Shared Interest Foundation has been working with producers in Africa and Latin America to build their capacity for a climate-friendly farming and future. So our work at Shared Interest Foundation can be classed into 4 main categories. Our first intervention is to ensure that farming activities does not impact adversely the environment. And we also work to ensure biodiversity conservation. The second category of intervention that we do put up is climate smart agriculture, where we do provide training in climate smart agriculture to build the climate resilience of farming groups across the world. The third intervention is into agroforestry. And finally, we are piloting an eco-friendly farming technology. So I'm going to run you through all these interventions that Shared Interest Foundation has been implementing to support producers across the world. Now, in South America, we are working with a coffee producing cooperative known as SICAFE. They are based in the northern jungle of Peru, and they are mainly into coffee production. We are working with them to contribute to a drastic reduction of the use of chemicals in farming. Chemicals have an irreversible damage on the environment and the ecosystem, and for that matter, our objective is to hit a zero utilization of chemical in agriculture. So we supported SICAFE to set up a laboratory for the production and propagation of a fungi, which has the natural ability to control pests and disease in coffee farming. The coffee borer beetle is an insect that can attack coffee plantation and, for that matter, destroy the coffee cherries between 50 to 100%. So it is a serious threat to commercial coffee production in Peru and elsewhere in the world. So by producing these fungi known as Beauveria bassiana and applying them on the farm, producers will no longer use chemicals, but rather resort to this natural method of controlling these pests and diseases, and so increase their production. We have realized that most producers, out of desperation, resort to the use of those chemicals because they really want to control those diseases, those pests and plague. But for now that we have started distributing these fungi and applying them on their farm, we have noted a gradual reduction in the utilization of these pesticides to control the plague in coffee. Beyond that, we have also supported SeaCafe to establish a 250,000 kilogram capacity infrastructure for the production of organic fertilizer. Again, the intention is to eliminate totally the use of fertilizer, chemical fertilizer in farming. So far, we have produced 250,000 composts, natural composts, which have been distributed so far to 147,000 farmers in Peru for application on their farm. This will boost their organic coffee production, bring down entirely the use of fertilizers, chemical fertilizers on the farm, and at the same time promote biodiversity. In Nicaragua, we are also supporting a group of farmers by training them to make their own organic fertilizer. Normally, this group purchase chemical fertilizers for applying on their sesame farm. These are sesame farmers here, but through training, they all have the capacity of producing their own organic fertilizer for applying on their farm. So that again will help encourage biodiversity conservation in sesame farming and the total elimination of chemical to produce sesame. So on my right-hand side, you can see the sesame farm we planted in August, and today the crop are so promising, they are flowering, and is promising a very good harvest. No chemical, no fertilizer has been used apart from the natural compost to achieve this result, which is an indication that yes, we can farm for an eco-friendly future. Another set of intervention that we are putting up is the training of producers in climate-smart agriculture. Climate-smart agriculture is an integrated approach to landscape management in order to address the interlinkages between climate change and food security. So the objective of this training is to ensure that our farmers are exposed to the techniques that they need to use in order to ensure that they better adapt to climate change whilst farming. So there are three main objectives being pursued here. First, through climate-smart agriculture, producers will increase their yield. Secondly, they will better adapt to the negative impact of climate change. And number three, they will considerably reduce emissions. So for every kilogram of food produced, there will be a drastic reduction of carbon emission on their farms. The next set of activity that we are implementing to support producers is agroforestry. Agroforestry simply means integrating food crops with trees on the same landscape. So we encourage a lot the planting of trees alongside the main crops, cocoa, coffee, and other crops, so that these trees have been selected purposely to collaborate with the crop trees that have been planted and not to compete with them. So this methodology helps to protect the soil, the land. It also helps to promote biodiversity and protect the environment. Some of the key activities or areas that we've been dealing with in terms of the agroforestry is the provision of climate and disease resistant seedlings for planting. For instance, in Ghana, we have provided 22,500 cocoa trees to young farmers for planting on their farms. In Cote d'Ivoire, we provided 37,500 cocoa trees for planting on their farms. And then in Rwanda, 70,000 coffee trees. These three coffee trees and cocoa and coffee trees were interplanted with also other trees, shade trees, so that they could work together to increase agricultural productivity on the farm. Through the agroforestry interventions, we also encourage crop diversification. We do mixed farming, and we also train them in the intensification of irrigation systems. So in general, so far for this year, we have planted 132,275 trees in different countries in both Latin America and in Africa. So the breakdown here, as you can see, 60,000 cocoa trees, 70,000 coffee trees, and then we have 4,275 crop and fruit trees that are equally planted, as well as moringa trees. So all this intervention that we have been leading have contributed to a large extent in the reduction of the utilization of chemical fertilizers, and pesticide and insecticide in farming, ensuring that the farmers continue to produce in an eco-friendly manner so as to sustain their production. The last intervention is eco-friendly farming technology that we are piloting. So we have started piloting some new technology for farming that will not affect the environment. And one of these technology is the soilless farming that Nicholas will be talking about. I don't want to go into the details here. But this farming technology utilizes a very low amount of water, occupy a small land space, and it is an adaptation technology that is used to help farmers to continue to produce despite the negative effects of climate change. On this note, I'm going to pass it on to the Executive Director of Trade Aid, who will be talking to us about the soilless farming technology and how it is impacting producers in his region. Thank you.
Thanks, Kodjo, that's great. Nicholas, would you like to turn your camera on? Thank you. So this is just a reminder to the attendees that you are able to ask your questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen for either Kodjo or Nicholas. So Nicholas, would you like to just introduce yourself and briefly introduce the work of Trade Aid?
Okay, so Nicholas Apokira is my name. I am the Executive Director of Trade Aid Integrated, an NGO that operates in the northern Ghana. We were formed in the year 2000, and since then has been working to reduce poverty among others.
Thank you. And so you mentioned that you're based in the northern region of Ghana. So in reference to climate change, how serious is climate change in your region?
Very serious, because our region, since time immemorial, has been suffering from climate change, in that we only experience one season of rain, which usually will last from now. It used to be from April to October, but now for sometimes even June to October. So year in, year out, we are experiencing reduction in the number of months that will get rainfall. And then also, and so it's affecting agricultural work. Apart from that, high temperatures come with a lot of diseases that are related with the climate. For example, we have what we call CSF, cerebrospinal meningitis. which is a condition that many of us suffer during the high temperature periods. And year in, year out, we lose a lot of people through this disease. And then apart from that, agriculture, food security is, because we are now having low yields, the period at which farm families stay without food is becoming widened, and that is affecting a whole lot of sometimes during the rainy season. The rains can be so much that you have flood and houses, people lose their homes and all that. So the impact or the effect of climate change is very, very clear. If you come to our part of Ghana.
Thanks, Nicholas. And so would you say that the situation has changed over the past few years? Have you noticed any difference in terms of rainfall, temperature, crop yield?
Yes, in terms of temperature, we are realizing increase in the temperature rate on daily basis. Especially when it's from April through to June. We are experiencing higher temperature rate, which makes the place very hot and very difficult to even sleep in the night. In terms of rainfall, it's been very erratic. Sometimes we don't get it at all. And when it does come, it comes too heavy that it leads to flooding, and we lose homes as a result of that. So, the increasing temperatures and this erratic rainfall all combined also affects our livelihood, because majority of the people here depend on agriculture for their survival. And even the basket weaving, it all depends on the rain-fed kind of thing, because through rain that we have the straw to weave the basket. So when we have scanty rain, it affects our ability to even get straw to produce basket. It affects our ability to do agricultural work, and that inclusively makes the situation difficult for us.
And the specific impact of climate change on the producers that you support and the wider community, do you think there is a direct link between climate change and poverty?
Yes, very direct, because like I said, a lot of our livelihood activities or income generating activities are related to the land and are climate related. If you take farming, we depend on rainfall farming, and that is what a lot of our people make income. So if we are not getting the rains, it means we cannot farm. And once we can't farm, we can't get the yields to feed, and we can't get the yields to even market to make income. The same applies to the craft sector. Firewood has become a problem. The straw that we used to weave the baskets have all become, so the impact is so direct that, it's almost at a level that if we don't start doing something immediate, we'll get to a situation where I would say that it will be disaster.
And what about, I know that TradeAid has been involved in a number of activities to increase the climate resilience of both your producers and the communities surrounding where you're based. Do you want to talk us through some of those activities that TradeAid are implementing?
Yes, so being conscious of the effect of climate change, we have been working with our partners to see how we can address it, and this has led us to carry out a number of activities that is helping to address the challenge. I think one of the things, the very early thing that we started doing with our basket weavers was to reduce the quantity of firewood that they use. And so for many of the basket weaver groups that we work with, we're able to improvise local energy saving stove that we have constructed for many of the groups that they use. In the basket making process, we have to dye the straw, and in the process of dyeing the straw, they use firewood. So by providing the energy saving stoves, the quantity of firewood that they now use is less compared to what they were previously using. So that has contributed to reducing the firewood usage by at least 50% from our estimate. So that is one key activity. Apart from the energy saving stove, we have also encouraged our farmers and our basket weavers to plant trees. And this we have supported some of the community to establish tree nursery, you know. So they establish tree nursery, and through the tree nurseries, and then they plant. Sometimes we also link with government agencies and we'll get tree nursery for them to plant. Just this year, the government of Ghana came out with a concept, greening Ghana, and the idea was to plant as many trees as possible. We were able to work with the Forestry Commission, and we got I think about 1,000 seedlings that we distributed across our weaver groups for them to plant in their communities. But over the period, I can say from 2013 up to date, I mean, from various projects that we have implemented, I estimate that we have planted more than 10,000 trees in the communities that we operate. So that is one major activity that we think that we need to do, because I mean, our area gets so hot, and we feel that one of the ways to address it is just to plant these trees, plant as many trees as possible, and we're encouraging the community members to do that. Apart from planting trees, we have also seen bushfires as a problem. We lie in the Guinea Savannah zone, so we don't have the trees, and usually during the dry season, due to cutting of rats and other bush animals, community members set fires, and this affects a lot of things. So we have trained our producers, particularly the basket weavers and some of the farming groups, on how to put off some of these fires when they see them. So and that was done with the Department of Fire Service in Ghana, and it's an ongoing thing. Every year we get to them and we try to do this training so that are better prepared, and that has contributed a lot to prevent a lot of fire situations and then we also do a lot of training on climate smart agriculture. Could you just talk of the soilless farming that we are doing? But beyond that, we are also teaching our farmers how to plant across slope, how to mulch and all that, so that they can conserve water and get a maximum return from their work. And this has been ongoing, again, from 2013, from various projects that we have implemented with various partners. We estimate to have done this training, sometimes in collaboration with the Savannah Research Institute in Ghana here. We have trained close to 7,000 farmers on climate smart agriculture. And many of the farmers are putting this into practice. You can see it in their farms and all that. And that helped them, especially the mulch, it helped them when we have drought spells, when during the rainy season, rains don't come. Because of this learning that they have, they are able to still have the crops survive.
And you mentioned just briefly there the soilless farming project, which I know Kojo touched on in his presentation.
Yes, so the soilless farming project is one of our newest initiatives. Yes, so the soilless farming project is one of the very new projects that we started working with Share Interest Foundation. And the concept is to grow vegetables, not using the bare land. So we are making use of waste material like sawdust, like grass ash, and then cow dung and other droppings of animals to prepare a medium that we plant the vegetables on. So this medium is filled into, if you like, waste buckets, in a waste container that we find. We've just filled it with the medium, and then the plant is grown on that. So with this technology, I mean, you can, with a small space of land, you can do a lot of things, especially for here where the land is already not there. And for most of our women, they don't own land. So this technology will help them to even make use of marginal lands that usually the men will not be interested in. Very infertile lands that usually when they go to ask for places to farm, that's where the women will be given. I mean, they'll be given the infertile land. So with this technology, even when they are given said land, they can make use of it because they will not need to plant on the bare soil. So for me, it is one way that I think that it will help greatly in reducing the impact of climate change, but also at the same time help our people address the issue of food security and income.
Thank you, Nicholas. And then just one final question for you. So if significant global changes are not made now to address climate change, what will be the impact on your region, do you think, in the next 10 years?
Well, like I said earlier on, I will describe it as it will be disaster because already we are feeling it. I mean, I don't know whether you've heard of the Bagre Dam. There's a dam in Burkina Faso called Bagre Dam, and every year when the dam gets full, the authorities in Burkina Faso have to what do you call it, spilled it, and anytime they spill, we have flooding in the Upper East region. You know, so we are. I mean, if this situation continue, I will not. So we are going to suffer in the area of diseases. We are going to definitely have more diseases. We are going to experience more hunger and stunted growth among our children. You know, we are going to have a lot of challenges that already that we are experiencing, but which will get worse. You know, so that is why there's an urgent need for the global community to take climate change seriously. And we in Ghana are ready to contribute our part in addressing this global challenge.
Thank you, Nicholas. No, that was really powerful, very interesting. Thank you. So we will now move to the Q&A section. So I don't know if you want to stop sharing the screen, Kodjo, and then both Nicholas and yourself can come to the center of the screen.
Okay.
So we'll start with a question for you, Kodjo. So talking about the organic fertilizers in Nicaragua and in Peru, what components are used to make those fertilizers?
In making those fertilizers, they use locally available materials such as rice husks. They use natural compost or manure, and then they also use some approved substances, organically approved substances that they mix together to produce the compost.
Thank you. And then for Nicholas, someone said excellent growing initiatives, but they all seem to require water. Are you finding that in your region water is readily available for these initiatives, or are resources becoming either more scarce or variable? Are you with us, Nicholas? Can you hear me?
Yeah. What? Yes. Can you ask the question again?
Yes, I can. So someone said that you have excellent growing initiatives at TradeAid, but they all require water. Are you finding that water is readily available in your region for these initiatives, or is it becoming more scarce?
Yes. So what we have also started to
Nicholas might be having some internet connections. We'll go to a question for Kodjo and then hopefully Nicholas.
Harvest rainwater. Hello?
Hi, I think we lost you for a moment. Can you hear me okay now? Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so we are harvesting rainwater, and then we are also supporting farmers to dig small dugouts along water bodies, especially rivers, so that they can use that to water their farms. So these are the two things that we are working on to make sure that we have water available for the farmers, especially during the dry season.
And have you noticed that in recent years the water has become more scarce or more variable?
Yes, it has become very scarce. And I mean, previously we used to, some of the dugouts, you could have water stored there that we can use up to maybe June, but now it's hardly will even end much. So year in, year out, we are experiencing shortage of water. Even in Bolgatanga Township, the reservoir that we get our water from, in recent times, get dry off. It used not to be the situation. We used to get water pump from there every day, every night. But now water is being rationed. Sometimes you get it 2 days, sometimes it goes off for a week. So, and all is because the quantity of water at the reservoir keep reducing, even during the raining, shortly after the raining season. So it's really a major issue.
Thank you. And another question for you, Nicholas. Are the trees that you have been planting suitable for coppicing for firewood in order to have a sustainable source of fuel?
Yes, so I mean, there's a combination of them. We plant mostly acacia trees that are fast growing, that provide the basket weavers and farmers with firewood. But also we do also plant fruit trees like mangoes and herbs like moringa and all that. But mostly, I mean, the focus, especially for the basket weavers, is to plant fast growing trees. So acacia and other species that are very fast growing are what is planted so that they can grow and.
Hey, thank you. And Kodjo, on the theme of trees, we've got a question about the moringa trees that we planted in Burkina Faso.
Basket weavers can harvest the branches for. Hello?
Hello, thanks, Nicholas. So just over to you, Kodjo, about the question about moringa trees that we planted as part of the Bees for Business project in Burkina Faso. So there's a question about the benefits of using moringa trees as opposed to other tree species for agroforestry.
Yeah, thank you. We have a good reason for planting moringa trees, and we have planted so far 1,500 moringa trees in Burkina Faso. This was to support biodiversity conservation because the forests are populated with bees, and then we were doing beekeeping as an income generating activity for the women in some rural areas in Burkina Faso. So we planted those trees because the bees feed on the nectar of those trees. And they are, bees are very good agent of pollination. So with the nectar pick, it also helps in bee honey production. That is why we have planted those trees. And we're looking at making honey based only on moringa flowers. So these are the main reasons that made us use moringa tree planting to encourage honey production in those communities who normally depend on honey or beekeeping as an activity to meet their livelihood needs. Thanks,
Kodjo. And so back to you, Nicholas. There's a question about the benefits or are there increased nutritional benefits of growing crops via the soilless compost when compared to growing crops in the ground? Can you comment on that? And I know that during the project development stage, one of the challenges facing your region in particular was that the land is very infertile, and so the variety of crops that you can grow in the land is quite small. So maybe to talk a little bit about the benefits and the variety of new crops that we will be able to grow using this soilless technique.
Yeah, so the benefit basically will be in the area that you don't need large tracts of land to be able to practice this kind of agriculture. And like I said, here in the Upper East region, women are usually challenged when it comes to land. And where they are given land, they are mostly given the infertile parts or the parts that are not fertile, the marginal lands that are not productive. So with the technology that we are introducing, all such lands can be put into use. And then also, I mean, one trend that is developing here, too big an issue. So even many of those who are doing conventional agriculture, there's overusage manifest in the health of our people. So going the soilless and going organic would help in improving the nutritional status of the people, and will help in even improving the shelf life of the vegetables that we produce. I have an experience when we did the pilot farm. The lettuce that we harvested from our soilless farm, which is organic, was able to stay in my fridge for 1 week without it getting spoiled. as compared to the conventional one, which will go by just the next day. So it's clear that, I mean, when you consume such vegetables, it will be better and improve on health than the conventional one, which are grown with so much chemicals and all that. So and like I mean, once the women are going to grow these vegetables, they'll consume them as well. So their families, their children, and all that will experience better nutrition, and that will impact on their health. You know, that will impact on their health, will impact on their growth, and all that. So we have no doubt that this project or this method has a lot of benefit as far as we are concerned.
Thanks, Nicholas. So Kodjo, there's a question about just about Shared Interest Foundation's role in these projects. Can these projects be scaled up to support producers in other countries? And just to cover again, which countries the foundation is currently working in?
Yes, these projects are scalable. The soilless farming, currently we are exploring Burkina Faso as a country that also has challenges, serious challenges with climate change. And women also have difficulty in accessing land. So we feel that this technology could also be implemented in that country, and we are exploring funding opportunities to scale up the project in that country. Yes, we in West Africa, we are working in a number of countries, including Ghana, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire. And in East Africa, we are in Rwanda, Uganda. And then in Latin America, we are in Peru. Central America, we are in Nicaragua. These are some of the countries in which we do have interventions supporting producers.
Thanks, Kodjo. So Nicholas, a question for you about sort of gender, and do you think that women face additional hardships compared to men as a result of climate change? You mentioned access to land as being one barrier that women face as part of the soilless farming project, but are there any other sort of specific impacts on women as a result of climate change? Did you hear me, Nicholas? Kodjo, maybe you could answer that question, and we can come to Nicholas after.
Yeah, definitely. Women are facing additional challenges when it comes to climate change.
I had a bit of it, not all, but let me try to. Yeah.
Okay, you continue, Kodjo, and then hopefully Nicholas can hear the end.
Yeah. So one of the major issues is access to land. Women have the responsibility of providing for the home, but paradoxically, they do not have access to land because in that part of the world, women do not have access to land. The land belongs to men. So it becomes very difficult for women to practice agriculture in order to make an income to support their children. So that is one of the key challenges facing women in those communities. Access to training and resources to be able to do farming on a large scale so as to make a significant income is also a big challenge for these women. And also lack of resources to pay labor to work on the farm is also a challenge facing women. So definitely women are disadvantaged when it comes to farming and climate change, especially in the northern part of Ghana and Burkina Faso.
Nicholas, do you have anything that you want to add to that question? Maybe some technical challenges. So I think this might be the final question. So Kodjo, are there any moves to use farming which uses different crops that are less vulnerable to a reduction in rainfall? I know that as part of our Growing for Our Futures project, the seedlings that we provide are all drought resistant. But are there any moves to potentially different crops that are less vulnerable to reductions in rainfall?
Yeah, definitely. We've been working with the Extension Division of the Ministry of Agriculture in the different countries where we do have a project to really develop drought-resistant and fast maturing variety of crops because of the change in the seasonality. So rain normally may fall for 6 months in the year, has reduced to maybe 3 months. And so we need to adapt the crop to the season. So crop that will quickly grow and mature and harvest within the shortest possible time are the crop that are being now developed and distributed to farmers so as to avoid climate affecting their yield. So these are some of the interventions being implemented.
Thanks, Kodwo. And Nicholas, do you have any final comments to talk about, either about the impact of climate change on women or about moving towards less water dependent crops?
Yes, there's so much impact on women because, I mean, in our context, women perform a lot of tasks. They take care of the house. So even when it comes to water, I mean, water for household use, many of these women now have to walk several kilometers to get water, because even sinking boreholes, I mean, there are a lot of the areas that we sink boreholes and we don't hit water. So you may hit water that is a kilometer or 2 away from home, and women and children will have to walk this distance to be able to fetch the water for the house, for the family to use. Apart from the issue of water, there's also the issue of health, where women suffer a lot by virtue of the fact that many of them are disadvantaged in terms of income generating. So when climate change further worsen the situation, and so if you compare a man and a woman, the ability of a man to deal with his health challenge is better than a woman, I mean, given our context. This has become, many times women are able to do some of them, income generating activities such as basket weaving, other craft activities, petty trading, which the effect of climate is limiting the ability to earn income from other sources other than farming.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicholas, and thanks, Kodwo. And we will end that there. But thank you, everyone, for attending this morning. And I hope you
all
enjoyed
this
it.
combined to make life very difficult for the vulnerable.
Thank you, Nicholas. No, thank you for your time this morning and for sharing the work of TradeAid and about the specific challenges facing your region. Thank you all for attending this morning. I hope you found it informative. Yeah, thank you once again.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.